Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Ready? Okay. Let's go. Everybody, can you please sit down so we get ready to start? Okay. Good? Everybody got a hand up? Yes. Okay. All right, welcome. Welcome to the Lighthouse. All right, tonight we're going to talk about energy. Something everybody needs. We're going to talk about the four elements. We're going to talk about healing. We're going to talk about Hisbodedut, a little bit of everything. Everybody ready? Okay. So I say nowadays, you see, we don't have, there's a word that there's a big shidduch problem out there. You know, people are not meeting people, and it's just there seems to be a lack of connect between a lot of people. And I think the problem is a lack of energy. I mean, the people, I watch some people date. I sit in restaurants and just see the way people interact with people. I'm like, there's no way these people are going to come together because their energy's off. It's just, unfortunately, there's a lack of energy. What's causing us to have so much lack of energy? Can we just close that door in the back, if you don't mind? So today we're going to talk about removing blockages to get more consciousness of your energy. The part of your body that's affected from energy is obviously the adrenal glands. I'm sure, has everybody heard of the word adrenal fatigue? There's a major problem with adrenal fatigue. 80% of Americans have adrenal fatigue. You never heard of this issue in the past. All of a sudden, 80% of people have adrenal fatigue. What's making us have so much fatigue? What's the cause of all this fatigue? So we're going to get to the root of it, and I'm going to give you a tool. Because again, without having a tool, what are you going to do? It's just motivation. I always say you can motivate an idiot. It doesn't make anything. You need tools, and you're going to have practical tools on what particular areas you need to work on first. So Rav Chaim Vital says something very beautiful. He says, we are born here. Every person's born here is made up of the four elements. Is everybody familiar with this four elements concept? You're born here with four elements. So your midot are based on the four elements. Everybody has a tendency towards one element. For example, my element is water. I know that if I don't watch myself with lust in this world, I can get trapped in 1 minute. So I know I came in this world to fix water. Water represents lust, money, food, sex, etc. Everybody's born here with a certain tikkun that they have to fix. Now, could you just please the phone? So, according to your gilgul from the past life, you're coming here to fix a different gilgul. So if you already understand, you have to identify where's your weakness. Everybody has a different weakness. We know some people are generally more depressed than other people. You know, they're just generally very, very depressed. So they come here to fix dirt. Dirt stands for depression. Let's just make sure all the phones ring at once. Okay, good. Okay. Anytime the phone rings is the Yetzer Hara. Okay. So the bottom line is, let's just go over the four elements so you guys understand. Because sometimes you can say, look, I don't understand what's my problem. I'm so depressed. Or I have more of a Yetzer Hara than another guy does. Or I have, all of a sudden, I know people that they can't keep their mouth shut. All day long, they're yapping away. What's causing one guy to talk more than the other guy? Because we're born here with certain tikkunim to fix. If you understand that, that means you're predisposed to have a certain problem that you need to work on more than other people do. Your tikkun might be completely different than another person. Another person might be prone to a lot of depression, and he has to fight the depression. Where another guy, his problem is really he can't stop eating or he can't stop his tavot. So we're here to recognize that first you have to, everybody knows a certain one that he has to work on more than others. So I'm not going to take a confession here. But I know mine is water. I'm not a person to talk a lot of Lashon Hara. It doesn't do nothing for me. I'm not a person to get depressed often. It doesn't do nothing for me. But I know I have to have up with these things. In my past, I know this is my weakness. So I know I'm predisposed, and this is where I have to be very careful in. So I have to be careful with the Brit. I have to be careful with all the things that allude to water. Because water, you need, obviously, God created a man to have kids. But if it's not used properly, it goes on the other side. Torah, you need wind to talk. But if it's used improperly, it goes into arrogance, it goes into fire. If you're not using your fire for Torah, you're going to use it for arrogance. So these are the four elements that we have to fix. If you don't fix this element that you're prone to, you're going to come back in another world as another to fix another problem. If a guy came back, like Chaim Vital says, if you came back in a previous lifetime that you had to fix, you're an angry person. So what happens? Hashem gives you an ability to come back now as having a water. He takes away the anger from you. Now you have to fix the water. You have to walk in your impulses. So you can get reincarnated up to 3 times. The 4th time you're out. So depending on your previous goal. So that's why I want to talk about this, because you're predisposed more than other people. So the key is to understand, to have the dot, to understand where is my weakness. Because whatever my weakness is, I have to work on. You know, Rabbi Rush said something very beautiful. He says, people spend so much time praying for money, praying for shidduchim, but how much time do they really pray to fix their midot? And meanwhile, their midot are really destroying them. One midot, we know a guy, I know employees of mine, that their ego, the guy's potential is enormous, but his ego is so big that his ego will not allow him to succeed. His ego is a difference between him succeeding or not succeeding. I know some employees that they're just born depressed. They always have something to focus negative about. So now that you know this, you know you have to work on a particular midah. Very important to understand it before the class. That's why towards the end of the class we're going to go through a specific line item, how to up your energy. That means if you have an energy level on a lower level, you can never get to a higher level unless you fix the lower level. So, I see a lot of people doing his bodhidut, but they're really a little lost. You know why? Because they don't really know where to start. Where do we start? So now I'm going to give you a place to start. And if you're able to uncover certain midot, then it's easier for you to judge people favorably. It's easier to be more positive, because at the end of the day, you're eliminating things. But if you don't ask God to help you with a certain midah, how are you going to do it? How are you going to fix it yourself? Think about it. You can't fix it yourself. That's why we're going to talk about doing his bodhidut on a particular item. You have to talk to God about the problem. There's no other way. You can talk to your kid, you can talk to your therapist. She can tell you it's this problem, it's that problem. But at the end of the day, if you have the ability to talk to God directly, you know, that's the key. So let's talk about a couple of things that are destroying our energy. What's destroying our energy? Okay, first is, the thing that's destroying, is we're giving all our energy to other people. Right? I know people that I know more about other people than know about themselves. How much more, what do you know about yourself? Them they know absolutely nothing about. But talk to them about Kim Kardashian, talk to them about this one, they know everything about this person. And if you continue this behavior, you're never going to find out who you are, you're never going to find out what you need to fix, and you're never going to find out, and you're never going to be happy. I know people that spend all their energy trying to change other people. It's impossible. It's very hard. This is like a chronic problem. I'm trying to change this person. They're not changing. So I said, the only way, you're going to have to change the way you look at him. When you change the way you look at him, that person will change. You'll be able to deal with it. It's not about things that problems are going to go away. It's just you're going to be able to become stronger in the problem. So the key is stop giving your energy away to other people. Stop blaming things. Because at the end of the day, the past is the past. Now you've got to work on the future. What are you going to do about the past? So blame, you're going to see, blaming is one way to get to a very low level of energy. Low level. You're going to see blame, it's in the hundreds. Very low. That means until you stop blaming people for your life, you're never going to experience love and happiness, etc. You got to get to the root of the problem. No, this person caused me my life. This person. So what are you doing? You're giving your energy to other people. Remember, problems need what? Need energy to live. Without energy, a problem can't live. So what's the main problem people have? They have a situation. We all get hit with problems all day long. This is the world you're created in. But the problem is when you look at something worse than it is, like you ask the guy, what's the score of the game? It's 1-0. Oh, it's 6-0. They're going to lose. What are you talking about? It's just 1-0. Why do you think they're going to lose already? That's the people who think. No, it's 6-0. They're going to lose already. Just view a problem as it is. Don't view it worse than it is. That's another way to destroy your energy. By looking at a problem and viewing it as the worst case scenario. That's one quick way to get yourself into a mess. Stop mind reading, stop fortune telling people. This is the problem, this is what it is what it is. And then focus on the solution. Don't say, oh my God, this problem is going to destroy my life. So, another way people are giving away, destroying their energy is social media. Do you think in 120 years the guy's going to say, you know what, I regret I wasn't on Facebook more? Imagine a guy in 120 years, I didn't send enough Twitters. I regret not sending enough Twitters. I regret not spending more time on Instagram. You think people are going to say that when they're 120 years? This little box, unfortunately, is destroying our lives. I see people, do you know where your neck is? Because you're so like this, you don't even, put your neck up! One way to change your life right away is change your physiology. If I'm talking to you like this, where's my energy going? This is the way people walk around. Walk around. They walk around like this. Why? Because their neck is already like this with the phone. They don't even know what their neck feels like anymore. They don't even know what their neck feels like. So you need to breathe. So you have to chill out a little bit on the internet. Because every time you get stimulated, every time you stimulate yourself, what happens? How do you get stimulated? Cortisol. You can't just get stimulated no reason. So every time you check dopamine, it's like a hit of dopamine every time. It's a hit. You need that hit of dopamine. So you're constantly stimulated, so at the end of the day, you don't have time to rest. You feel like you did everything. At the end of the day, what did I do today? And you're like, I didn't do anything. And I'm exhausted. So you have to realize you got to start changing the behaviors. So another thing, unfortunately, that what causes people to lose a lot of energy, unfortunately, is running after money. Okay? You have to realize something very important. The key to making money, I've said this 1,000 times, is trust in God. I know some people, they live in a relationship that imagine their spouse was cheating on them. And every minute they're finding, where are you? Where are you? What time are you coming home? Imagine living like that. Imagine living, God forbid, you had a spouse that was cheating on you, or you suspected that they were cheating on you, and every 10 minutes you were worried that they were somewhere. You think that's a life? Can you imagine living like that? You couldn't live. This is not a life. I can't even relax. That's the same thing what happens when you're chasing money all the time. Worrying about money is not going to make you more money. I promise you. Worrying about money is not going to make you any more time. Opposite, it's going to destroy your life. The Gemara clearly says that worrying about money shortens your life. It will shorten your days. Because at the end of the day, no matter who you are, you're going to die with half of the things you accomplished that you wanted. No matter who you are. You had 10 buildings, you're going to say, I want 20 buildings. No matter who you are. So at the end of the day, you're not going to hit 100. Maximum, you're going to get 50. So why worry all the time about having more? Because at the end of the day, this is going to shorten your life. And that's where adrenal fatigue comes into place, which we're going to talk about now. So he says here, Rav Nachman, in lesson 23, he says, the deeper a person is sunk in the desire for wealth, the less understanding and the shorter his days will be. There you go. You want to have a short life? Just chase after money all day long. You don't have to do anything else. It's a recipe which calls on men to constantly return. That's why people ask people, how much time do you spend for learning Torah? I don't have time. How much time do you spend at work? 14 hours, 10 minutes for Torah. Recipe for disaster. You want to go to the blueprint of creation that's telling you how to make money, from Parshas Haman, that's clearly telling you the key to making money is trusting in God, and you want to do the complete opposite. And you expect God to reward you. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. So the more you worry about money, the less money is going to happen. You're chasing away the money. When you trust in God, what do you do? It's like the law of attraction. Trust in God brings the item closer to you. Right? What does worry do? Pushes the item away from you. The more you worry about something, you expected something to close, it didn't close, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to become depressed. And you're going to have slow hope. So he says here, this is what's constantly doing. He says, a person, the depression which descends on a person when he has a struggle for excessive things, comes from the snake of the serpent. It comes from the curse of the serpent. All the limbs of his body are going to become weak. To the vital spirits, it means his whole life is going to be constantly stressed. 85% of people are under stress. 5% of illnesses are stress-related. The weaker it becomes, the heavier his limbs become. That means the more you chase after money, the weaker you become. I went to Manhattan the other day, and I'm a pretty positive guy. But you go to some synagogues, I felt the worry of the synagogue. I got there and I started worrying all of a sudden. I said, how come I'm worried? I have nothing to worry about. But because you pick up the vibe of everybody else worrying, you're like, oh my God, I'm worrying about, but the difference is I caught myself. I'm like, why am I worried? I have no reason to worry, I'm on vacation. But because everybody else is worrying, they affect you. They affect you because everybody in New York, it's like a chase. Who's going to run quicker? But that's the Yetzer Hara. So he says, the Yetzer Hara will keep you on a vicious cycle that can bring a person to death. Right? The root of the syndrome is what? The struggle for money, which is the source of all the anxiety and depression. But when a person does the opposite, then he's safe from that. That's why you have to focus a little bit more on spirituality. You have to focus. I know a lot of girls that are looking for guys with a stimulus package instead of a spiritual package. And at the end of the day, they don't get it. Then they're 38, 39, 40. The stimulus package never came. Guess what? You were looking for the wrong thing. Because at the end of the day, God's the one that provides the money, not the guy. The guy one day can lose everything. Imagine being married to somebody who has no emunah. One little thing turns, his business gets regulated, who's he going to turn to? Who's he going to turn to? His attorney? So if you don't have emunah, you don't have a life. And the reason why people have so much anxiety and so much depression is because at the end of the day, they don't have emunah. They don't have emunah. It goes back to all emunah. Lesson 172 says, whatever a person experiences, be it children, livelihood, or health, is entirely from the side of the person himself, because the light of God is constantly shining on a person. That means we have light constantly coming. But if you want to imagine being in a pool and the sun's out, everybody's getting a tan, but the guy decides to put his chair in the dark. And he's blaming, how come I'm not getting any light and you're getting light? Get your chair out of the dark. Pull your chair in. Who told you to put your chair out? So what's happening here is you're blocking light from coming to you. So when you have excessive worry and you try to be in control of things, God forbid, what happens? You block God's light to you. And you have a diminishing light. It's a big problem because this is the most chronic problem that I see. That a person's not, it's literally their schedule makes it impossible for them to have energy. Literally impossible. I said, unless you start having a new belief system, you're never going to have energy. There's nothing that possibly can happen because you're constantly releasing cortisol. Now behold, the shadow comes from the material thing standing opposite of the spiritual thing. Right? And that casts a shadow. So don't blame God for not providing for the person. Don't blame God. It's not God's fault. God's light is shining all the time. But if you don't have if you don't have a cup to receive, figure out why you don't have a cup to receive. That's why the Torah is called the blueprint of creation. So if you figure out if somebody was building a building and the building didn't come out right, what would you do? You would go back to the blueprint. What's causing me to be in this situation? Go back to the blueprint, which is the Torah, and that'll explain to you where you're off. And chances are, at the end of the day, most money problems are from lack of emunah and excessive worry. Excessive worry. And this is destroying your strength. It's destroying your energy. Because guess what happens? What do you think, what part of the body you think is in charge of that? The kidneys. The kidneys have adrenal glands on top of the kidneys. This is responsible for your cortisol. So if the guy constantly stimulated every single day because he's constantly worried, then guess what? He's burnt out. He's going to come home, and this is the same organ that releases testosterone. So guess what? Imagine having a shalom bayit problem when the guy comes home every night, I'm tired. What do you think is going to happen after a couple of years? I didn't marry this guy. He has no energy for nothing. I don't have energy. I got to get a new husband. 50%, 60% divorce rate. No energy? What do you want? What do you want the wife to do? What do you want the wife to do? If you're constantly stressing out the adrenal glands, you're overworking them. So what you do in the day, it's going to affect the way you come home. You're going to come home in a lousy mood because you think you're in control of your money. You're not. And this is destroying your strength. So the adrenal glands are responsible for testosterone, That means you need testosterone to have energy. But what do you want to do? What are you taking? Because when you're out of energy, you're taking 10 shots of coffee. Drinking coffee is like borrowing energy on interest. That's what you're doing. You think that's going to give you energy? Drinking coffee is you're literally borrowing energy on interest. Yeah, you're going to get energy for about half an hour, but let's see where you are in 45 minutes. You're going to crash. Junk food, same thing. What does junk food do? It gives you that craving, and then you're going to crash. And then your whole day, boom, up and down, up and down, up and down. So when you come home, you feel exhausted, you never can catch up. So if you don't start changing the beliefs, this is your life, and you have no energy. So, who wants to live like this? So, the first thing is you're going to have Emunah. Because through Emunah, you're going to be able to control your system and realize it's not from you at the end of the day. And I learned this lesson very expensive. These lessons didn't come to me cheap. The difference is you're lucky. Some people haven't paid the price. I paid the price for these lessons. And I relied on people to get me out of problems instead of relying on God to get me out of problems. I relied on attorneys to get me out of problems. I relied on judges to get me out of problems. And at the end of the day, the more I relied on people, the more I worried. So that's the key. You have to really change and remove these blockages. But one of them is definitely running after money and stress. Chronic stress is the biggest problem. So if you have chronic stress over time, that's what you have. You've never seen such an infertility problem. Did you ever hear this? Go Google, maybe 15 years ago, IVF clinics. Now there's an IVF clinic in every block. There's more IVF clinics than 7-Elevens. How come there's such an infertility problem? How come people are having trouble with kids? Think about it. Because testosterone is from what? Is the stress hormone. Think about it. Think about how it's all happening. There's never been so much of an IVF clinics. They're charging people a fortune for IVF. Meanwhile, if you're less stressed out, you're more calm, you realize that at the end of the day, I have to do my work, but the rest of it comes from God. Anymore, you're chasing the thing away. If you have that belief system, then you have a different life. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how to get this, how to break down this map of consciousness, okay? So everybody has the list, right? So we know again, you're born with 4 midot. Each one is born with a certain amount of vulnerability to one versus the other, okay? So now, Rav Nachman, let's see what Rav Nachman says about how to fix midot, okay? I think this is the only way. This is not a quick thing. This is not something you can go to Morocco and get a segula for. You're not going to be able to get a red string that's going to help your midot. This is called work. And this is coming really to truth. You have to be face to face, you're real. The only way, Malcolm clearly says, the only way to get out of a problem is if you connect yourself to truth. If you admit you have a problem. If you don't admit you have a problem, then, the number one step in addiction, unless the guy says I have a problem, he's not going to get help. So admit that I always say, Hashem, I am vulnerable with my impulses. I am vulnerable. I definitely have a sign of water. I have to watch what I eat. I have to watch what I spend on. I have to watch on this because this is my weakness. I recognize this is my weakness. So this is where I focus all my energy on. You understand? So what are the 4 negative characteristics? The water represents pleasure seeking. The constant wanting pleasures. Pleasures all the time. Pleasures over food, pleasures over any kind of pleasure. Fire represents arrogance and anger. If a person generally has more tav, I know people that are very angry all the time. Anything that happens to the guy, even it's like a car alarm. That the car alarm is like 2 blocks away, it's always burp. It's always making noise, even though nothing happened. But he's angry about anything. A little something, somebody went this, screaming. That comes from fire. That comes from fire. So whenever there's sickness, is when there's an imbalance in the 4 elements. That's how sickness comes. Even the Chinese, they practice. That's why when you go to an acupuncturist or you go to a doctor, acupuncturists, they work on your energy. They work on your symptoms, your midot. The doctors here in America, what do? Ask your doctor if this pill works for you. Doctor, I think I'm depressed. Oh, you're right. You look depressed. Here you go. Here's a pill. So, what is dirt? Dirt represents depression. Generally being down. Generally being down. And the last one is what? Is wind. Wind represents idle speech and harmful speech. You know, there's some people that just can't keep their mouth shut. Always talking. This is their tikkun. Okay? So Rav Nachman clearly says, the only way you're going to fix these midot, okay, is through his bodedut. His bodedut is talking to God. Not just meditation. Meditation is thinking about something. You actually have to talk to God and says, God, I know I have this problem. Because when you're humble, God gets rid of all your problems. When you're arrogant, God doesn't get rid of your problems. The only way to get rid of a problem is come pleading with God and asking God to help you with specific midah. Now, we're going to see how one is blocking the other one. So you have to understand and do a little movie of your life and see where your biggest problem is first. See where your biggest problem. One second, we're going to ask questions after. So by secluding himself and by speaking at length with his master, through this a person merits negating all physical desires and bad character traits to the point where he merits to negating all of them at the source. That's what you have to do. So you have to take 10 minutes from your busy lives, and we're going to identify what level you're holding here on the scale, because everybody's holding on a different scale. And we're going to have to climb our way up to the scale. If you climb your way up to the scale, then you're going to really experience happiness and joy. But if you have a problem with one of them, if you have a problem with, for example, anger, you're never going to get to love and acceptance. If you don't love yourself, you're not going to love anybody. So we have to work on these small level of trust. So he says, in other words, the main time for his bodhidut should be done at night. Should be done at night when people are free from their occupations. And right now, this part of his bodhidut is only talking to God about your midah. Remember, it's not so exciting to talk to God about your midah. It's not the funnest thing. It's easier to talk to God. God, I need money. I need a shidduch. That's more fun to talk about because that brings instant results. But at the end of the day, the reason why you don't have the shidduch or the money could be because of the bad midah. You understand? If you fix the problem, then you'll attract a different person. I always tell people, you want to attract a better spouse? Upgrade yourself. You're trying to look for an upgrade on the spouse. Meanwhile, you haven't upgraded yourself ever. Of course, you're attracting people like this because this is the energy you're vibrating on. So sometimes Hashem will show you through the date that you're going on, your same characteristics that you can't stand in you, in them. That's if you're lucky and you're able to see that. So the best way to attract better people is if you upgrade yourself. Stop upgrading your apps. Stop upgrading this. Start upgrading yourself. When you upgrade yourself, you're going to radiate on a different energy. You know, there's some people that come to you and they take all your energy from you. I never forget, the other day I was in the mall, I was getting something for a phone, and this guy was so depressed, I had to recover. I had to take 3 green juices just to get the guy, get up, because the guy sucked all my energy out. It's because whatever you think about are what? Are vibrations of energy. What do you think a thought is? That means I can recognize what you're thinking about right now. If you're sensitive, you can feel what people are thinking about. Because thoughts are vibration of energy. So imagine thinking about something like I'm not enough. Chronically. Other people feel it. Other people feel it. That's the problem. So the main time for his bodhidut is a night where you're completely to yourself. And says, God, I know this arrogance of mine is stopping me from success. That means I have an anger problem, I have this. But identify what's the first one that's the worst for you. Identify the first one. If it's you can't stop eating, talk about the eating. Talk about it. Talk about it with God. And he says if you talk about it with God, God's going to help you get rid of it. He's going to help you get rid of it. What else do you want? What else do you want? That means you're going to have to spend some time investing on yourself. I did this myself, and I'm like, wow, I'm radiating on a tremendous energy. But I had to go through a humbling process. I didn't get to the elevator one shot. Little by little, one midah gets you to another midah, gets you to another midah, and you start fixing. And once you start fixing, you start feeling differently because you have a different belief system. And once you have a different belief system, you feel better. In addition, his bodhidut should take place. Don't do his bodhidut in a place where there's a lot of people around because it's going to disturb your concentration. You need to sit there and maybe close your room, put some music. If you need to put some classical music sometimes just to warm up, you got to spend 10 minutes of your life just working on one midah at a time. And if you start doing this, this is the only way to increase your energy. Energy drinks, 20 minutes of energy, half an hour. Everything else is, because at the end of the day, remember, you came here to fix one midah. God gave you one midah to fix. You're here to fix one particular midah, and that's the difference between you making it and getting reincarnated or not. So that's what we have to do. It's hard work. And you know what? Unfortunately, a lot of people don't really address these things. They don't address these things. Okay, so let's talk about this level. Everybody has this consciousness scale? So let's talk about how to get to higher frequency. Okay, let's talk about 1 second. 1 second. Moshe, you want to put one on the camera so people can see what it is? Put one on the camera. Give me 1 second. Okay, so the first one is, this is very self-explanatory. 1 second, I had it charged with the description of each one. Okay. So obviously the lowest one is miserable, shame, humiliation. Yeah, just show it to them so they can see it. Put it on the camera. So the first one is obviously shame, humiliation. This is, God forbid, people that are suicidal. These are people who are suicidal. As you go up, you see tragic, grief, fear. So a lot of people are stuck on 100. You're stuck on level 100. Level 100 means anxiety, fear. As long as you're stuck in that vibration, anxiety, fear, you're never really experiencing what life is all about. All the anxiety is at level 100. That means if this is your main problem, you have to talk about what's giving you so much anxiety. And at the end of the day, what is the fear? And what's fear? The kidneys. And where is the adrenal gland fatigue from? This is what's causing you. It's the fear. What's fear? False evidence appearing real. That's what fear stands for. So Nachman also says in lesson 15 that a person has to work on his fears. The more you give power to your fears, the more the fear grows. You have to get the fear at the source. You have to get the fear at the source. You can take the thing away, Moshe. So you have to attack fear at the source. So that anxiety you have, your energy level is 100. You're never going to get to a higher energy level until you battle your fear and anxiety. Do most people have this problem on the 100 level? And you realize, wow, how come life, I'm just stuck in this level? I can never get to another level. I feel like I'm stuck because you haven't worked on it. How much time have people worked on talking about their anxiety and fear? Think about it. How much time have you spent on it? Spent hours talking about money, hours talking about everything else, but how much time have you really spent on talking about your fear? Individual fears. So that's at 100. 125 is what? All the cravings, the desires. So as long as you continue to have, God forbid, cravings, tavot for mammon, tavot for niyuv, tavot for these tavot that you have, it's going to give you a very low energy level at 125. That means, Rav Nachman clearly says, cravings remove a person from this world. I know guys that they can't fix their Brit, and their whole life they're a slave. Remember, there's 3 things that capture your heart, that make you a slave. 3 things. Money, relations, God forbid, too much of a pigama Brit, and the third one is food. We know that food is what can destroy your energy. These are the 3 things that take away a person's heart. That means he's a servant to them. So guess what? You're going to come back in another goal to fix something else. So you might as well get to work. You got to get to work. You can't avoid these problems. Some people avoid them with drugs. Some people avoid them with other things, but they're just temporary. It's like an alcoholic drinking for happiness. It's exactly what you do when you're avoiding a problem. I want to be happy. Let me just drink away the problem. That's what's happening. So if you see this fear is at 100, desires at 125, angry people, they have hate. We spoke about, you have no idea I don't know if many people were here for the last class, about letting go. We spoke about the class about how important it is to let go of other people. You have no idea the miracles that I've heard this week. People that called up people, I gave people homework. You have to call 5 people you haven't spoken to, and you have to say, forgive them. I forgive them for whatever happened. The past is the past. And all of a sudden, things that they were waiting for to happen, happened for them. Because I said, yeah, obviously, because now you have mercy. You gave mercy down here, you have mercy up there. Life is not so difficult. It's not so difficult, we just make it very difficult. So these people got tremendous amount of mercy on them. Tremendous amount of mercy, and it came for no reason. It came because there was a lot of blockages in heaven, waiting for the guy to make an arousal down here, and he got many miracles. I heard about this. Other people says, I can't do it. I'd rather suffer than to say that I'm wrong. Okay, so there you go. There's your pride. 175. That means you're going to be stuck on 175 forever. That's your life. You're on 175. That's your pride. Your life is stuck on 175. This is not the funnest classes to talk about. It's funner to talk about other things, but at the end of the day, I'm all about results. I'm not about making you happy, telling you this is going to be great life. I'm not going to tell you you're going to be guaranteed. If you don't do this, you're going to be in your same position. Because there's no way. Because you have these blockages. Think about it. Does it make any sense? You have a blockage. That's why a lot of the blockages, unfortunately, people get when they're younger. When they get raised sometimes, and certain parents, the parents say, "Oh, we can't buy this. We don't have enough money." So the kids, you have to be careful what you tell your kids, because the kids keep on hearing this. Oh, we don't have enough. So when they get older, not enough. That's the example of an elephant. How do you train an elephant? You know how you train an elephant? When an elephant is younger, they take a rope and they tie it to the elephant. And he pulls, and he pulls, and he pulls, and he pulls, until he gives up. So guess what? When the elephant is older, it's like a phenomenon. How do you have a little Indian the size of 5 feet tall with like a 500-pound or 1,000-pound elephant, and the elephant is following this little Indian guy with a stick and a rope? How is that possible? How is it possible that an elephant would not just burst out? Because when he was younger, the belief was, I can't do it. So he got stuck. There's people that are just like the elephant. Tremendous potential, but they're stuck with a little rope in their hand. And that's what the little rope is, your midot. Is that one little thing, the ego. The ego is your little rope, and you're the big elephant, and the ego is that little rope preventing you from being happiness. Again, 20 is when you start having courage. 250, when you start having trust in God, you start releasing. When you start trusting in God, what do? You start releasing. You say, you know what? I start forgiving people. When I trust in God, I realize one of the things I told people, you know why you have to forgive people? Because if this person didn't hurt you, guess what? Somebody else would hurt you. He's just a stick. You're yelling at the stick. You're yelling at the mailman for giving you the letter from the lawsuit. Imagine a guy yelling at a mailman in the middle of the street. Why'd you give me this letter? And you imagine, it's not, you're the stick. So the lack of emunah is believing that person was sent by that person. The lack of emunah is, you have to realize that guy was sent from God. Nobody can touch you down here, and nobody can take away your parnasa down here, unless it's declared upstairs. Can't happen. So if you're worried about what your competition is doing, if you're worried about how much your neighbor's making, you're wasting your time. And it's dragging, it's sucking all of your energy. All of your energy. This is what happens. So if you look at pride is 175, courage is 200, trust is 250. Once you start becoming optimistic, you start having a little emunah, then you start going to 300. And then at 350, you see, look at that, mercifulness. That's what happens when you forgive people. Look how a person can go from not forgiving people to all of a sudden forgiving people. Look how this guy's energy level, what happens to his energy level? It almost doubles. This guy all of a sudden has no built-in emotions, has no regrets. He forgives. Guess what happens when you do the midah keneged midah? You forgive, I'm going to have mercy. Now you're vibrating at a much higher energy. So when you see people, oh, this guy forgives people. And Hashem has more kindness on him. So he lives under mercifulness. You understand? So that's the key. By that exercise we did last week, you can go from what? From having pride, because the reason why you don't forgive somebody is because your ego, and because you think that that person attacked you, to all of a sudden from 175 to almost to 350. Double your energy. How would you like to double your energy? Imagine living right now, and I said tomorrow you're going to wake up, you're going to have double the energy. How would you feel? You'd feel, wow, what do I have to do? Do I go to the fountain of Cuba? What do I do to get this? How do I get this double energy? Very simple. Start forgiving people and get mercy in your life. Stop with the doctors, stop with the nonsense. Start getting rid of your ego and start accepting that everything is from Hashem, and you go from 175 to 350 in a blink of an eye. Would you rather have ego or would you rather have energy? What would you rather have? Ego or energy? You gotta make a decision. Can't have both. Can't have ego and energy. One or the other. What would you decide? Unless the guy's really like crazy, he would pick living at a lower frequency than living at a higher. That's why I tell people, forget just letting go. You're going to have a different life. You're going to have a different life. You're going to be able to do exercise. You're going to be able to eat better. You're going to live life differently. You're not going to be like, oh my God, another day. You know, I say, how's your day? Same as yesterday. Yeah, because that's the frequency you're waiting on. And guess what happens? When you accept and you let go, then the adrenal glands, which are in charge of the testosterone and cortisol, are going to be used for what? For exercise. Instead of for problems all the time. That's what you're supposed to use. Or to run a mile. Or for things that are proper. And then you get rid of the IVF problem, you get rid of the fertility problems, you have better shalom bayit problems. Don't tell me how good a person's shalom bayit when the guy's getting foreclosed on his house. We spoke about that very small. How good your shalom bayit is when you're getting foreclosed on your house. How good is your shalom bayit when you come home and you're completely exhausted and for no reason? Because you're only exhausted because you think you're in control of things. Remember. So now that we got to almost 350, then you start getting bina, wise. You go to 400. Then you start becoming wise. A wise person doesn't scream about everything. I always said this example. If you take a 60-year-old guy from America and you take a 60-year-old guy from India, who do you think is living better? The Indian. Less money, but he's not on 5 prescription pills. He doesn't have dementia. He doesn't have all kinds of anxiety. He doesn't have 25 diabetes, gut syndrome, all these chronic illnesses. The guy's what? He's meditating, he's a yogi, he's enjoying life, he's eating curry food, there's turmeric, anti-inflammatory. And the American's running, and the guy's losing his memory. Who's winning? Who's winning? The yogi in India or the American stressed out about everything in life? Think about it. God did not create us to be like this. He didn't create you to be like this, to have dementia. You see how much dementia is going on there? Look it up. There's never been a case more of dementia than ever. What do you think dementia comes from? Omega-6, eating garbage. Eating soybean, 20% of your calories come from soybean. Come from cottonseed oil, partly hydrated oils. What does omega-6 do? Destroys your memory. Why do you think you have dementia? I told you, America makes money when you're sick. Not when you're healthy. They make money on the GMOs, they make money on the pharmaceuticals, they make money on this, and you're the guinea pig. You're the guy running from here to here to here to here at the end of the day. Once you get to level 500, then you focus on not what? You focus on being, on loving, not having, being. We have a problem now. If I have this, I'll be happy. If I have this car, I'll be happy. If I have this wife, I'll be happy. If I have that, I'll be happy. Oh, no, you won't. No, you won't. I was in that trap. You won't. It's just you're just avoiding a problem. When you focus on being, that means you spend money not on things, you spend money on experiences. They say really happy people don't spend money on things. They spend money on an experience. That's the difference when you know you're in a different level. You spend money on the experience, not on the physical items. Because your soul wants to experience higher things. So when you get to this level of 500, that's when you have love for everybody. When you have love, nothing bothers you. You have a different life. And you're radiating a tremendous energy. That means when you have this kind of energy, you're able to do things for other people. You're always complete. You feel complete. You feel happy. You're healthy. You eat right. You're able to help people. You're going to make more money. I guarantee you. You're going to make more money when you're calm and you're level-headed. And then 500 to 540 is joy, serenity. 600 is perfection. I don't know if we can get to that level. But these levels is you're living a different life. One guy living here, but another guy said, I have my ego. I'd rather live on 175. I like miserable people. You see how miserable people, they always love miserable people. No, I'm depressed. No, I'm clinically depressed. I'm more depressed than you are. Why are you doing this to yourself? Why live like this? Maybe I'm, but I meet a lot of people in addiction and they're living miserable lives, and I feel sorry for people. And they're sick, and they're bitter, and they're blaming others for their life, and all these things. For what? For what? What are you doing it for? So if you look at this list, everybody has a level that they're on right now. We don't want to have a confession right now, but everybody has a list. So if you're worried about money, that's your level. That's your life. That's level 100. That anxiety. It's a lack of emunah. That's why through emunah, you can really experience life. You can really focus on having, not being. On being, not having. That's the key really to this. So a person really has to sit there and say, you know what, if I didn't do his bodhidut, maybe today is a good reason to start doing it. Maybe I should put my phone, instead of being on my phone for 4 hours, maybe I should be on my phone for 3 hours and 50 minutes. And maybe I should work on my midah for 10 minutes. That's why I don't want to pump religion into people. I just want you to be happy and have spirituality. Because guess what? Once you start becoming happier, you're going to want to do more things. The minute I get a guy to all of a sudden lose 20 pounds, you know what he's going to do? He's going to go shopping for clothing. You need to tell him, by the way, go shopping for clothing. You just lost 20 pounds. He's going to feel better. And then once he starts shopping, he's going to run faster in the treadmill. And that's called momentum. That's the key. When you make that turning point of momentum, that's when your life changes. When you have that breakout. The breakout is, wow, well, look at this energy. What's next? Instead of focusing on what's wrong. So this is the key, really. I think this scale is really the key in everything. I think it's very accurate. And you have to understand, is sometimes, for example, is a craving. Are your cravings better? Is more important? If you wanted an answer right now, how to cut a craving, now you're going to say, is my craving worth me having 300 energy? Is it really worth it? Is this piece of cake worth it? Is it really worth it to eat like this when I can vibrate on so much better energy? Now you have something to defend, because otherwise it's very hard to cut a craving. But if you realize what you're missing out in life, you're missing, and I used to be at a lower frequency. But now I'm able to give classes almost every day, work out, run 4 companies, do his bodhidut, wake up for hatzot, do all these things. Where does it come from? Because I'm not focused on things that drag my energy. Where another guy, he can't even get up at 9 o'clock to do meditation for 10 minutes. What's the difference between one guy and another guy? He's vibrating on much more energy. And that energy is getting you to different scales in life. So that's today's class, really. Today's class, we're going to answer questions now. It's really self-explanatory. You have this list in front of you. All you have to do is check the box. Just check the box. Okay? All right, good.